Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Jay. This is smarthelping.com and I'm doing the overview video for the update to the preferred return model. This has been one of the most popular templates on the entire site and for good reason. It's got a lot of cool features. What I've done is I haven't changed any existing logic, but I've added a new feature. And I'll go through how this whole thing works. But the new feature I did was now you can choose to have the profit share, which is the payment above the pref return, the profit split, be counted as repayment of equity for the investor, and you can call that out. You can see here if I hit yes, you can see here's repayment of equity, and then that will reduce the equity balance over time and reduce the preferred return therein. So the whole model works exactly the same as it did. If you hit no here, it works the same as it would have. Um, and the way that works is essentially you have contributions in row 8. Any contributions come to as a negative. The equity contribution rate is this is the amount the investor pays, this is the amount the sponsor operator pays, and that flows here accordingly. This is the sponsor section, which is pretty short. They contribute whatever percent ends up being in here, and they get 30% of any cash flows after the investors met all of their um, hurdles and gotten their share. So you have the projects, which will just drop the project's cash flows up top here. So you have any negative cash flows up top here per year, any distributions available in row 9. And then as distributions happen, we can do all kinds of features here. So we have the option to add shortfall to investor equity. If we hit yes here, that means that any shortfalls in the pref return will accrue to the equity balance and compound. And so you can see here if we were short, like in year 1 we had 75,000 available, but the pref is 135. So we've added 60,000 to the balance that interest the pref return is going to be based on. So now in year 2 it's 141,000. If we hit no here and don't add shortfalls, then the equity balance, which is the basis for the pref return, will stay unchanged, but this unpaid amount still will accrue, and when there is cash available, that will get paid to the investor. You can also start clean each year, and if you hit yes here, that means any unpaid returns don't accrue. So like in year 1 there was 75,000 available, the pref was 135, only 75,000 goes to the investor. In year 2 we've reset, we do a whole new calculation. If the distributions are less than the pref, then the investor just gets all the money. Year 3, now we can cover the pref, so that the investor gets their pref, and then the rest is split 70-30 like this. Now, if we are reducing the equity balance here, then you can see this starts to drop down as more cash flows come in. Let's say there's a refi, you've got a big return here of equity, 783. Um, and so forth here until we zero it out. So we specifically call out the repayment of equity, and let's say we're adding shortfalls again. Yes, if we hit yes there, and we're not starting clean each year, we distinguish between this equity balance that's based on the return versus the repayment of equity, which doesn't include shortfalls. So the payment of shortfalls are not return of equity. The payment of shortfall is just preferred returns that have accrued but got paid later because there wasn't enough cash flow at the beginning. But if we want to compound those, then this balance here in row 13 needs to add any payment of shortfall or any unpaid prefs into it. And then as the shortfalls are repaid, this goes back down to the original balance. And then as we go down to the original balance, which was in this case 1,350,000, now you can see this once we've repaid all the shortfalls. Now we start paying down on the initial equity, and so this is going to start going down 647, 517 as these cash distributions are available, based on this being yes. Now, if this was no, this equity stays this. It can still go up if you're accruing and compounding the unpaid returns, if there are any, but it won't ever go down past the total invested amount. And if you had more invested here, like 100,000, their share was 90, so now it's, 1440 is the min basis. So that'll never go below that. But if this entered as no. So I thought this was really awesome to have this new logic added in here. It basically makes this preferred return waterfall the most robust single hurdle template for joint venture waterfalls that I've built. It's a really cool. I've got all kinds of other ones too. I've got ones with IRR hurdles. I've got ones with non-compounding multiple preferred return hurdles. Um, but this is a cool one because it does nearly anything you would want from a preferred return model. And now we've got the option to repay equity and call that out and reduce the balance so that the actual pref return will go down. And all that does is essentially the investor is going to make less than if it were not. Like here you can see the IRR is 20.9%. If I reduce the balance, then that's going to go down because the pref return then drops, and then they have to split. Instead of getting all of that pref return, the amount that they are not getting is it goes down through this waterfall, and now they're only getting 70% of that difference instead of the full amount. So what's that difference of 20.1% versus 20.9% if you're keeping the equity balance the same the whole time? Also, adding shortfalls will change the IRR. So if we hit no here, then the IRR is going to go down a little bit because you're not compounding unpaid. I mean, barely, not even noticeable. But if, let's say, you had no cash flows for a bit, then now you see, so you're 18.4. If you add these shortfalls in, you're 18.5. So slightly, a little bit change there. But this new one's going to be a bigger change, so 18.5 versus 17.9 if you are reducing, so 0.6% of the IRR is changed on this one. So this is a little bit more of a difference maker than these other inputs, but still, this is all important depending on how you're structuring the deal. And my whole goal with this preferred return template was to try to make something that can fit as many possibilities as is out there as far as the cash flow waterfalls. Um, so all the logic's here. It's all dynamic. It's all called out. What's repayment of equity? What's repayment of shortfalls? Um, what's the cash flow above that, which would just be profit? And a lot of the reasons why this happens is because depending on how the operating agreement is structured, labeling a return as repayment of equity is not taxable, whereas a distribution of profit is taxable. So there's a lot of things. So the main thing is we're just calling out what amount of the total paid in each year, what is repayment of equity, what's payment of shortfalls that were missed, and then what is remaining after that. We also have a visual here, I didn't change anything on this. It just shows cash in and out for the investor and sponsor over time and a running cash position of each over time. But this is where all the magic is, and I'm really happy with where the template has ended up and is super useful. Again, this is one of my most popular builds, and I think for good reason. Let me put some cash flows back in here just so you can see these numbers. Yep. Okay, so that's all I got for you. And if you want to purchase a template, it will be on the site. It'll be under the joint venture tab at the top. And if you scroll down, it'll be down here under P's. So M, P, preferred equity, preferred return. It's this one, preferred return with the polar bears under the bridge. And one-time fee of $45 to get the template, and that's lifetime access. If any updates are ever made to it, you still get it. All right, well, that's all I got for you. If you do want to buy the joint venture bundle, you can get all the templates in here for $447, which is over 40% savings on the individual prices of everything. I also have a lot of real estate operating models and underwriting spreadsheets that are useful, and a lot of these will utilize cash flow waterfalls. And You can buy everything on the site for $24.99, and that's all templates I've ever built, which is over, there's well over 140 or so unique templates. So check it out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Like, subscribe to the video.